All right, as you guys know, Florida State kicks off the 2024 season against Georgia Tech in less than 3 weeks. So cue all the practice reports, record predictions, and now even playoff predictions. And there's a lot of chatter and debate among the national media about Florida State season as well. And we're back today talking about yet another take from On3's JD Pickell, who has shown Florida State tons of love this offseason, but this time we actually got to disagree with him. And you guys seem to really like these kinds of videos, so we're going to keep it rolling. And we got a clip to play for you guys, and then we'll get into the discussion. But first, I got to ask that if you're a diehard Noles fan, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We jump on here multiple times a week to talk recruiting, conference realignment, anything and everything we can. So we definitely love for you guys to stick around and keep up with all things Florida State football. All right. Now, JD Pickell over at On3 recently dropped his playoff predictions and sort of by default dropped his ACC predictions. And I'm just going to get into it. He has Miami winning the ACC. But his take, his breakdown is actually even a little bit crazier. Now let's roll a clip and then we'll talk about it.
But I think Miami finds a way to go 2-0 against Florida State and win the ACC. So what happens to Florida State? Do they make the college football playoff? I mean, stick around. But I think Miami is your ACC champ, and they lock themselves into a college football playoff spot and a bye in the 12-team playoff.
Now, I don't know how or why the media continues to overhype Miami each and every year. I just don't. I mean, they continue to underperform despite their recruiting and talent levels, but somehow this year it'll be different, right? And listening to this, he has Miami not only making history and winning the ACC for the first time ever, but he also claims that they're going to beat Florida State twice on the way to doing so. I mean, there's just no way. Now, I get Miami is going all in this year, and I get that they have Cam Ward, who has taken over 80 sacks in the last 2 years, by the way. Now, I don't doubt that this Miami team is talented. It always is. But that's never stopped them from disappointing on the field. They were much more talented than the Georgia Tech team they faced and had a late lead in that game before poor coaching literally fumbled it away. They were definitely much more talented than the Rutgers team that they lost to in the bowl game. So for Miami, the Jimmies and the Joes don't bother me because we just haven't seen the X's and the O's work out. I mean, remember when Tyler Van Dyke won ACC Rookie of the Year and had actual Heisman odds? Mario ruined him. And now he's at Wisconsin, where they're even taking shots at the coaching ability there in Coral Gables. Now I know that you're never supposed to underestimate your opponent, and especially in a rivalry game. Those games are always a little weird and anything can happen, and that could certainly be the case this year. But I don't think you can make bold predictions, especially this early on, based off of that. That's also why I think it's ridiculous to predict that in a rivalry game, Miami can win that game again, not just once, but twice. And just to prove I'm not being biased here, I wouldn't predict Florida State to beat Miami twice, even though I think the Noles hold several key edges over Miami. Because I do feel like Miami could be tough this year, and Florida State does have some question marks with such a new team. Now, Miami's schedule, especially their conference schedule, is significantly easier than Florida State's. They don't have to play Clemson, they don't have NC State on their schedule, but they do have a tough stretch there in the middle of the season, having Virginia Tech, Cal, Louisville, Florida State, Duke, and Georgia Tech all back-to-back. Now, some of those games are tough on their own, but all of them back-to-back could cause some turbulence. And again, I know Miami has better recruiting and is more of a talented team on paper than the rest of those teams, but it's just a matter of it being enough. Now, as far as Miami versus Florida State, I think Florida State has a significant coaching advantage, but I also think they have a better college football roster. I think Florida State has its best offensive line maybe in the last decade or so. I think they have 3 or 4 really good running backs that could all be a number one guy. I think this defense is going to be elite yet again. Now, we do have some question marks on offense, but I trust Mike Norvell as the offensive mind and play caller that he is to scheme up some things, and I just know this offense will put up points. And I just feel like Florida State will be a really balanced team in 2024, and I think it's going to be tough for any team to beat the Noles twice. This is definitely a hot take from JD here. Maybe he's trying to drum up views. I don't know, but I think that's a pretty wild prediction to make here in early August. And again, we always get on here agreeing with his take, so I think it's only fair to mention when we disagree with him too. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Is JD nuts, or is Miami that much of a threat this year to make history, beat the Noles twice, and win the ACC? I just don't think so. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, with the season just a few weeks away now, we're going to have more and more videos just like this. We're also keeping up with recruiting and conference realignment. So you definitely want to subscribe to the channel to stay in the loop of all things Florida State football. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Go Noles.